What's shaking bacon? I'm Joni Simon, food photographer. Welcome to my studio. Welcome to part 4 of our mini course on food and product photography pricing. So in the last lesson, I recommended getting started by coming up with a number that represents what an hour of your time is worth. And I mentioned that we're not talking shooting time. We're talking about taking into account all of the time that's required for a given photography project. Everything from consulting with the client, planning the shoot, to the final delivery of the photos or the videos. Because as you probably already know, the active time taking the photos or videos is oftentimes only a small part of what actually goes into the project. And maybe you're thinking, well, planning the shoot doesn't actually take that long. And packing, I can do that pretty quickly if I'm going on location. But if you really start to pay attention to the time it takes to do the different tasks, you might be surprised. Like legit, set a timer, see how long it takes. Now, as I've mentioned before, different jobs take different amounts of time. And that's why we can't do a one-size-fits-all approach for food and product photography. It's really hard to fit it into a tidy standard rate sheet like you might find in other photography genres. So let's run through an example together of a more common kind of food photography gig, a small local restaurant photo shoot where the restaurant's going to be preparing all the food and they're serving it on their own dishes. We're not doing any elaborate styling or propping, and we don't need to bring in tons of prop or gear or even have assistants. I've done lots of these kinds of shoots over the years where you're mostly just capturing images for the restaurant to use and sending to local media and PR, their social media, their website. It's fairly straightforward, and in those situations, I can, on average, capture approximately 2 to 3 dishes per hour. Now, that's me, and your mileage may vary. And so let's just say, though, in this scenario, they need me to capture 8 total dishes. So that's approximately 3.5 hours. But I also want to account for all of the other time invested in the production of these images, including things like communicating with the client and planning the photo shoot, travel to and from the location, setup and tear down of my equipment at the location. Then when I get back, it's all about transferring the files from the memory card to my hard drive, culling all the images and organizing them, doing editing and retouching. And then I'm uploading and delivering the images to the client and all these other little admin tasks. And so what seems initially like a 3.5-hour photo shoot is actually a 12 to 15-hour project. And so if you want to build a profitable photography business, you need to charge for more than just your time behind the camera, because time is money. So if you estimate that job will take approximately 12 hours and your per hour number that we talked about from the last video is $150, then when you multiply those together, you arrive at a total price for the time aspect of this project at $1,800. And so that number, $1,800, is referred to in the industry as your photography fee. Now, depending on how you want to format your estimates, the kind of projects you're doing, the kinds of clients you're serving, just what feels right to you, you can list this as a photography fee, just one line item. Or if it makes sense, sometimes I like to do this, is to break things out, like you list the pre-production, you list the shoot day, then the post-production. Really totally up to you how you want to present your numbers. But the key to getting an accurate sense of the time a project is going to take is to ask the prospective client great questions in a discovery call. Now, we're going to talk more about the discovery call in an upcoming lesson, so back to that in a bit. But you want to ask questions that get at the heart of what they need and what it's going to involve to bring what they need to life. Things like asking, where is the shoot happening? That's important, of course, because we want to know, is there travel time involved? And do I need to pack things up and bring them? Do I need to find or rent a space? And then the always important question when food is involved is, who's preparing the food? Because that really impacts the pre-production time for shopping and food prep and potential assistance if you're the person in charge of the food versus a restaurant or the client is providing the food. And super duper important, how many products / recipes, dishes, concepts are being featured? And are they all the same scene or different scenes? Because 10 products on the same white background with the same lighting, same everything is not going to take as long as, say, 10 different products with different prepared foods in 10 different styled scenes. Changing out backdrops, having different props, different lighting, those are 2 totally different shoots and 2 totally different prices. Now, I have developed a very comprehensive list of questions and essentially a script for myself that I ask all clients, and all the nuanced questions for different kinds of clients, like food bloggers versus cookbook clients versus work that's being getting printed, and that's all inside my business course, which is linked down below. But the place to start, if you're not ready for that, which I totally understand, is just getting curious and developing questions with each new job that you take. I know the biggest source for me of the best questions has been in those moments of learning. When I'm on a job and I go, oh, I really should have asked about this back when we first started our discussions. Like one time when I did a video job and I didn't ask about their plans for the audio for the video, and it eventually turned into me having to write scripts for a voiceover, which I was happy to do, but it was definitely a lot more time to do that than I had planned for this project, and I didn't include that time in the estimate. It just makes everybody's life so much easier for you and for the client to have all those good questions asked ahead of time. Just makes all of the production so much smoother. Also makes you look like a pro. And so the best estimates are always based on asking great questions. And then of course, important, very important, actively listening to understand what the job requires. But now time is not the only thing that's included in our estimates. So in the next lesson, we're going to move on to talk about what other things we need to include in our estimates to help make our jobs profitable.